Hello, Hyrule. My name is Kern. I'm joined by Wolflink for this very exciting shadyforce versus saltyphry matchup. How's it going, Wolf?
Afternoon, everyone, and I'm doing pretty good, folks. Today we have a 4-2 match between shadyforce and saltyphry, like we just mentioned. This is the last week of Swiss. I'm not sure if these guys have any contention of getting through or not, but their records thus far are looking pretty promising here. So, Salty, you know very well, Kern, because you beat him in week 1, actually.
Yeah, I think I was really lucky to have. From my memory, I got kind of lucky on some death or something that he took. But Salty, very good. These two have actually been practicing against each other quite a lot in just casual races that organized in the main randomizer channel. So they're pretty familiar with each other's race as well, I'd imagine.
Yes, in terms of the rest of the road, of course. saltyphry then went on to win 3 in a row, then lost in week 5 to LC101, and then beat Hydropower 70. Lost his actually his first 2 games to Furiyami and Matt7898, but then won his other 4 between Ohado, Ninban, Nin Taylor, and Chimo. I hope I'm pronouncing that one right.
Chimo, I believe, is, yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah, and, we're just getting started here, but I think also, like, mentioning the 4-2 here, this means it is possible that these runners could move on. It's going to be based on schedule strength, so, like, how well their opponents did. So I'm not exactly sure who is possibly in contention, although I would say I would feel pretty confident in saying that shadyforce, at least, considering the people that he's lost to, should be in a pretty good spot if he does go 5-2 to be able to move on. Not sure about saltyphry.
Speaking of things lost, saltyphry unfortunately reset his preset timer, so we don't have an actual accurate time for him. And also started with Link's house, but immediately reset to Sanctuary, where the Ether Medallion lied.
Yeah, that might have been kind of fast start, like maybe was still finishing stuff in the log and just needed to get going and mashed through to the Link's house. I'm not sure.
Yes, and to give a brief overview of how a spoiler log works, in case this is the first time you're tuning in, both runners have access to what we call, of course, a spoiler log, in which all of the items, like that Moon Pearl, are listed out in a spreadsheet so they can read through and plan their route. They have 15 minutes to do so, and they can go back to the spoiler log anytime after that during their execution of the route. Fastest time wins, of course, but unlike a normal randomizer race, our runners are allowed to watch each other's screens or watch here in chat. So they know how far ahead or behind they are at a given point. This is pretty much, the best parallel I can draw is it's NMG, but the route is randomized.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent way to describe it and to think about the race. It's a very execution-heavy format, but it also is testing your ability to route on the fly. And already we're seeing some divergence here. Saltyphry coming south to pick up a bush crab. I think that those were hearts. I think he was trying to get to the Tier 2 bush crab drop and didn't make it.
Yes, and of course, that is also one of the things listed in the spoiler log. Also listed in the spoiler log, as you can see by those flippers, but that's not what we're looking for. If you look at the bottom of the screen here, you can see our tracker, or Sports Jeff, has already lit up the pendants and crystals for this race, along with the medallion requirements, in which it's vanilla today for those. So we need Ether and Quake, potentially.
No luck again on the Tier 2 crab drop. So I think he's relying pretty heavily on this Tier 2 crab drop. I believe I had this explained to me. I think it's like you want it to pop as many of the sprites on the screen as possible. So you can see here, saltyphry saw it did not eject enough hearts for him to get to the Tier 2, so he screen transitioned away.
Yeah, whatever this prize, honestly, I don't think it's really that worth it. Looks like he's gonna give up.
Yeah, I think, I'm looking in the log here. I feel comfortable revealing this now. That was a 1-bomb drop on the crab, so that could have allowed him to get inside of Mini Moldworm Cave and then kill the Moldworms with his sword and move along. So perhaps there's something in Mini Moldworm Cave that he wanted to be able to do in CAC with on his first trip up there. Whereas shadyforce just gets the bombs and does CAC normally.
I would have argued the point to maybe just go to the 50-50 bushes, because getting hearts off the crab, and you have to get like 5 or 6 hearts off the crab in order for that bomb to spawn. I don't think that's a worthwhile investment in time, because with rupees, they just stay on the ground. They don't travel that far away. The hearts can fly really far away and get into unreachable locations, like we saw with saltyphry.
Oh no, and Salty trying to do a Houlihan to get some money to maybe buy bombs and go continue on his route, but has the flipper, so couldn't do it. I mean, it's a good question, Wolflink. Like, you know, how consistent can it be? And again, I'm not 100% on the theory and how, or even if, you can manipulate whether or not you get that tier 2 rupee crab drop. But with 4 attempts, I think that was some extraordinarily bad luck to not get it.
Yeah, I have gotten the final prize just in casual play. It takes like 6 or 7 drops to be caught before it actually spawns. And there's the flute. That is what saltyphry wanted out of here. Anything else in mind? Oh, the second sword.
Yeah, so this is a really good theoretical route from saltyphry to have decided to, you know, quit after getting the sword and Lostwood so that he can activate the flute while in Kakariko. But yeah, unfortunately, just doesn't get that rupee crab that he wanted.
And we're seeing Shadyforce head all the way up here to the waterfall. Without Mazora money, no less. And gets rewarded with armor and the lamp. Oh no, don't tell me. I'm always worried when we have the lamp, Master Sword, and Moon Pearl to start things off. And we're starting at Link's house as well.
Yeah, I mean, having a look at the crystals, lamp could also be because of some of the dark dungeon rooms if lamp is easily accessible, but it seems like he kind of went to Zora's Domain just for the lamp. So yeah, I think your theory here about this being an Aga play is pretty strong.
Yeah. We're gonna make a little bit of a detour though. Maybe there's something else in this area that he just wants to get him, decides to get it now. And it's not actually Aga. It's still way too early to tell with the lack of gloves and the hammer. It's talking him on magic.
Yeah, with that Ether Medallion, that might help him clear out a few rooms. I mean, he does have Master Sword, but I don't know. It could be for Ether Medallion.
I mean, if you're climbing up the tower, Master Sword, Blue Mail, 5 hearts, that's still pretty okay.
saltyphry got down to 1 heart here, Mini Moldorm Cave, finished off the final Mini Moldorm with a bomb. Did get a full magic drop, but decided not to go back for it. So if magic is important for some reason,
you might be able to pick that up before it despawns.
I think if you go in and open the chests with it that far away, I mean, he did only take 2, so maybe he could have made it, but I'm not sure. It would have been very tight.
That means any Moldorms, along with anyone else that shares their drop pool, is actually in the high value pool, I believe. So that means they can drop fairies. And I think we did see a couple fairies drop as well from them. And Tempered Sword, and a Death Warp from Shadyforce. There's something else here in the castle.
Yeah, it could just be the Aga play.
I like the death sprite of that cursor sprite, by the way, just the blue screen. And yep, this is Aga. So yeah, fairly bottleneck seed if we're doing Agahnim within 8 minutes.
Yeah, so Shady is a little bit ahead here from saltyphry, although this is not the end of the game, and this is one of the plays I was going to look for. Salty going straight up the tower, deciding not to get the Tempered Sword, probably means he's never going to get that Tempered Sword. So there could be another Tempered Sword on the way, or he's just hoping he can make up time here, despite sometime he might lose on more optimal boss fights.
Yeah, this plays into his intro route not exactly paying out for him, I think. So it has to make up some lost ground here. And this is a valid strategy to do so.
Yeah, I think it's pretty smart. Like, he needs to do something to gain a bunch of time on Shadyforce, and it's not the best idea with an opponent, I mean, both of these opponents, to rely on them making some big mistake to let you get ahead, so you got to skip something.
Yeah, but that is the caveat with this mode, is that because of the environment that this is spoiler log, they know where all the safeties are, and they can opt to take as many or, more importantly, as few safeties as it can, and that can lead to very high chances, very high death rates in this compared to normal randomizer.
Yeah, it's not unsurprising to see like incredibly experienced runners still die in a spoiler race, which I think part of what makes it so much fun is that, you know, there still is quite a lot of danger and skill involved.
It's just a little bit of luck. Not too much because we know where everything is, but sometimes, sometimes those attack patterns can get the best of you. And no one can predict how much they move, but we can predict how many blue balls Agahnim will throw. Those non-reflectable shots. I'm gonna say that we're only gonna see this early, probably only 5.
5, wow. Okay, entry to Aga 2 or Aga 1, sorry, at 950. So let's see what saltyphry's entry is. Get an idea of how far behind he might be. So it looks to be just about 45 seconds difference in entering Aga 1 here. Making up quite a bit of time by skipping that sword, but, you know, having Tempered Sword can also save a lot of time. So we'll see how this plays out.
Save a lot of time in the Agahnim fight because it's always 6 hits, and we are getting at least 2 lightning cycles here. Both runners do get the same patterns as well. That is a sort of a failsafe, I would say, when the randomizer, would you say? I can't think of a better term.
It's to, because the RNG, that the amount of time that could be added by certain things like either Ganon warps or Aga warps can be so big and also out of your control pretty much that it would be pretty lame if, you know, the RNG of an Aga 1 fight decided who won a race. So the rando has synced them up. Also, in the spoiler race, it is a really viable strategy. Like Aga 1, famous for not having a lot to do. You're just standing there deflecting balls or not. However, in any Aga fight, whether it's spoiler or not, what you want to do is deflect Aga more towards the center of the room, because the shorter he has to warp to his next destination, the faster that he goes through that cycle. It's very small, but over the course of a whole fight, it can save a bit of time. But in the spoiler races, you have an extra little something that you could do, like saltyphry being just a little bit behind shadyforce, could have watched where he warped for each cycle, and then deflected Aga not towards the center of the room, but towards the actual spot he would warp to, saving even more time. That would have been crazy. I've seen a few people do that in the spoiler race. It's pretty awesome.
That's kind of interesting to know, actually, yeah. shadyforce activating the flute now. And chose to save for immediately after stopping the pyramid. This could lead to a few different things, one of which that immediately comes to my mind is the Super Bomb, but Super Bomb isn't going to be in play for a long time with Piles of Darkness and Misery Mire both being our 5/6. And we are interesting hammer for that.
It's interesting that shadyforce is coming to Blind's basement now, after doing Aga. Oh, because he didn't have the money
for Kiki.
Oh my god, that's the break that saltyphry needed. I mean, I say this, we're only 13 minutes in, a lot can still happen, but like, yeah, that kind of balances out that former situation and probably puts saltyphry ahead now, even though he's a sword behind. I'm not sure where Salty got that extra money from. I just want to clarify something real quick here. Chat asking, technical link in chat asking, how do the runners know whether or not they're getting a blue ball or not? The answer is it's not in the spoiler log, so they don't know for sure. They can watch each other's screen, and also you always know that the first thing after a lightning shot is always going to be an energy ball that can be deflected. But other than that, they don't know.
Yeah. The first attack of Aga's attack pattern is always going to be a reflectable shot, and his last attack in his pattern is always going to be the lightning. In between, though, it can be anything from another reflectable shot to a non-reflectable shot, and it's completely random.
Yeah, it's purely 50-50.
But it is also set up in a way that both runners will have the same pattern, pending no deaths or no resets, or they don't miss a shot.
Oh man. Okay. Salty is now entering into a situation. There are arrows in this room, thankfully. He's entering into the mimic room without arrows, but yeah. I think that the decision to kill the green mimics there could have just been expediency, but also could have been overcaution. If there are enough sprites on the screen, then sometimes those arrows don't spawn. So you also saw him killing the electrical batteries in the hallway. I think that that was actually planned so that he wouldn't have so many sprites on the screen that the arrow drop onto the pot didn't spawn. So that was really cool.
Yeah, really nice foresight there. Of course, the barriers are still going to be annoying, the little tiny ones. And there's the hook shot. So had to come in here to get to the east side, the west side of Dark World. Sorry, I'm getting my directions wrong again. And taking a Death Warp, is that all that's in here?
Well, he can't go down. He can't mirror and he can't hop down because he doesn't have the hammer. So he has to. He'd have to Death Warp to continue on in the dungeon, right?
Ah, right.
Yeah, this sword differential making it very hard to tell exactly who is in the lead, but saltyphry with more than a minute lead just here in pod, Tempered can easily save that amount of time over the course of a run, but I think it's really going to depend on where that fourth sword is and whether or not saltyphry picks it up.
The other potential time save, of course, is the silver arrows, but we have no idea where those are.
Yeah, I think, looking at the bosses here, Cold Stare is a big one that Tempered saves a lot of time on, and Mothula as well. Vitreous it just depends on what you have when you enter the fight. But those are the big ones, and because Ice Palace is a pendant, that does reduce, the amount of time you're going to be able to save with it just by a little bit. Yeah, Moogle Charm in chat reminding us that actually saltyphry still has to activate that flute, so it's not just clearly that shadyforce is, this much of the dungeon behind Salty, because Salty, apart from having a lesser sword, also has to go back to CAC eventually to activate that flute.
That is true, yeah.
Oh, shadyforce picking up a bunch of extra hearts on the way. Might regret that, since he has to Death Warp out of here. Or maybe he won't Death Warp. Maybe he's just saving and quitting.
What Saltyphry's going for? He's going for the big chest. And inside, the Cane of Samaria. And shadyforce is quitting out.
Yeah, I think he just went back to pick up bombs, or maybe he didn't realize that it was a forced save and quit and decided, I don't want to take the time. But, Cane of Samaria, the only thing it's really required for that we know of anyway is just letting chat know. I have not actually looked at the spoiler log, so I'm saying this genuinely when I say, the only thing we know for sure it's required for is Misery Mire. So, you could always leave that to your last dungeon and go clean up pod. It's a crystal, you don't have to come back anyway. Go grab that later.
Should also be opting to say, hey, Cane of Samaria is in here. I'm going to wait till I get the hammer so I can clear the rest of the dungeon in one trip and not have to go back through and do the Death Warp.
Oh my god, the rare flippers to hookshot across to the other side of the Dark World scenario. I love it.
Yeah, they don't have gloves, so they have to do this too. That's the best part. Where are those gloves anyway?
Yeah, they have to logically do this, but there actually is a way to do this there's a few actually, a way to do this without flippers or hammer or glove. But flippers they're required for the seed anyway, and they were easily accessible.
Nice thing is, though, about this seed I'm noticing, we have as few climbs up the mountains as possible because we have a pendant hare and a pendant turtle rock.
Yeah, that's nice. So hopefully we can do it in one climb, but if not, it's probably going to be a forced double climb.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 climbs at most, maybe. It's at least as far as I'm concerned. Because if there's something up there, they're probably just going to get it and then never go up the mountain again until they're ready for GT.
Bit of divergence here. Shady is going straight back to Moth, while Salty is not. And this could be... I wonder if this is because there's a forced sword here in Thieves Town, so he's going to save time by coming Thieves Town first.
There's also something else to speak of here. Shadyforce is going into Skull Woods without the fire rod.
Yeah, so there's got to be some kind of progress here, right?
Oh,
There we go.
There's the fire rod. Just not at the right location in the dungeon.
Yeah, I think we call that a vanilla latte location, right? Something like that.
Alright, so Shady's on his way to fight them off. Salty, meanwhile, is trying to get through this. And I'll say this much about saltyphry. With the cape in tow, no less, I believe. Looks like it is. This is not an easy dungeon to do with his current equipment. Because here's the thing, is when Salty gets to the basement to go get the maiden, Salty has to go all the way around into the actual kill room. And there's a glove in Skull Woods. Which means Shady doesn't get to do that. That is a nice little time save that Shadyforce has.
Yeah, it doesn't make an enormous difference to have to do the around the kill room, but yeah, it is definitely a time difference.
I'd say it's probably at most 10 seconds, but that's still in a spoiler log race in which you know where the runners are, and you know how good they are at this point. Those seconds can matter. Every second can matter. And a timely full magic drop as well from Shadyforce.
And yep, we see the accidental grab of the rock despite the gloves, or it could have just been a rage grab, but I think it was an accidental grab. Like, oh wait, right, I have to do the kill room, which is traditional. Even in a spoiler race, you know, it's traditional to forget that rock cannot always be picked up.
Yeah, because half the time you're in here with the glove. This is one of the few times we don't have a glove until Dark World. At the very earliest. Moth down, had a compass on him, but we already had both items out here. And first crystal of the match goes to Shadyforce at 21 minutes and 50 seconds. And no small key here, I noticed, from Thieves Town either. And no interest in picking it up if it was around, so... we can kind of metagame a little bit here and say there's nothing in the big chest, so they don't necessarily need the hammer for Thieves Town. They obviously do need it, of course, for the entire seed, but not for Thieves Town.
I gotta imagine that there's something on blind that's the reason that Salty came straight to blind. Went all the way over here, decided to go into Thieves Town first. It could just be because this is, you know, he's here, so do it. But we haven't seen yet. Let's see if we get a drop.
And on blind we have a heart piece.
I mean, he did get a cape, which is a useful safety item. But I don't think we got any other item here, did we?
I don't think we did, no. I think it was just for the cape.
It could have been like, you know, I have to do Thieves Town in my route now anyway, so I'm going to take this moment to think a second. Yeah, because it looks like he's heading back up to Skullwoods now.
And we are on the mountain for Shadyforce, I just now noticed. Something's here in Paradox Cave.
Oh, you know what? It also could have been...
It
could have been a strategic decision as well to get a health and magic refill. I don't remember what his consumables were at before he came in there, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if that's why he went in Thieves Town first.
Our container 3 bombs. A heart piece, which was shadyforce up to 7 hearts. 10 arrows. Another heart container.
Wow, so Shady came in and did all of Paradox just for all the health. I mean, there's a lot of health, but pretty crazy.
Yeah, and the red mail too. That'll make shadyforce feel super safe here.
Yeah, this is safety cave today.
Indeed. But shadyforce is not done with the mountain just yet. There's something else here. I just realized this would be a rude place to put the hammer, and there's something important in Hera.
And you have to climb back up again.
Yeah. But there is something here in Spiral Cave, that's for sure. In the Spiral Cave we have the Titan's Mitts. Okay, so there was Forced Aga. I just realized it was Forced Aga.
Oh, yeah, because the first glove was in the Dark World, yeah.
First glove was in the Dark World, and that glove... Oh, actually, no, the mirror...
the flute.
We had the flute, but we didn't have... Oh, no, the hookshot was back here, and we haven't seen the mirror yet.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Hookshot was in Pod. Yeah. Good point.
So
probably, I mean, I would imagine it's Forced Aga if they both did it, but yeah.
Well, it's Forced Aga because... So, that means we can metagame a little bit more. The mirror must be in Dark World then as well. Somewhere.
And, well, not necessarily
that
the hammer,
or
but probably the hammer too.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Salty's got to be a little careful here. Is on blue mail, so he can take 2 hits from something. But is down a little bit. Yeah, so he has a slightly longer moth fight, probably like 20 more seconds here. But he has gotten his second crystal now.
There's something here in Hookshot Cave that shadyforce wants. It's yet another heart container. I believe that gets him up to 10. And there's the hammer! So yeah, there can be no doubt. That was complete and totally locked behind Dark World access. In fact, the hammer was Titan's Mitts locked.
Yeah, so not a lot left to find to be able to, you know, finish the seed as far as we know anyway. I mean, we don't... Oh no, we know medallions because the tracker puts it on because the spoiler. So yeah, we have like almost everything we need other than that that mirror. I guess the big question is whether or not boots are required for some reason.
I mean, if the boots are always required, let's be real here. Our runners want to go fast.
Yeah, but what if it's like on Laser Bridge or something?
Then I can agree to pass on them. I actually did a seed the other day in which, or not a seed, commentate a seed the other day in which boots were on, I think, Mimic Cave when it was a pendant turtle rock. No one was going after those.
Shadyforce now coming back to grab their Cane and Samara, and also with that hammer, they can finish out the dungeon. So this will be their second crystal as saltyphry activates the flute. So they're both just kind of covering each other's tracks of stuff that's been done before. So this seems like a pretty natural, for whatever reason, a pretty natural bottleneck of the seed. My guess is that that means that the mirror is much deeper in, and they are going to be doing a bunch of crystals right now.
Yeah. And we do need that mirror for Swamp Palace, so having the mirror be late is actually a blessing in disguise, because that means we can go mode Swamp most likely. On the other hand, getting the mirror late also means... Well, actually, no. If Desert has nothing important, then we also can just skip most of Desert. Yeah, getting the mirror late. Getting Goma appeared actually pretty good.
I'm not sure what Shady did. He dropped down, made the chest appear, and then didn't open it. So I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he got confused about which is the map and which is the compass chest. If we see a big key in the compass chest here, then I think that's what happened. And that's not even the map chest down below. That's the, I think it's called the Stalfos room on the spoiler log.
I think that's the Stalfos room, and the arena bridge is what the chest was up there.
Okay, well, it wasn't the compass chest.
Oh, probably looking for the big key.
Yeah, I know he's looking for the big key, but I was just curious why he jumped down. It could also be that, a lot of runners, they don't have time to figure out the key route, and they wait until they're in the dungeon to deal with that, and he just was like, okay, well, while I'm looking at the log, might as well jump down to this first chest, and then he finally found where it was and abandoned it.
Yeah, that's more likely the case. And that is actually a fairly common strategy that some runners use. You get a few hits there. I think that was on purpose.
Yeah, it could be setting up for a death warp.
On red mail?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Kadongos will do either half a heart or a heart of damage even on red mail. I think it's even full heart.
Not bad. They do a full heart regardless. So they know they do a full heart even on blue mail.
Yeah, they're one of those special enemies.
I mean, it makes sense. They're only around in, like, what, 2 dungeons? Here in this one?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think there's also one in Ganon's tower. Like in a room no one ever goes in.
Yes, the zoo. As we affectionately nicknamed it. Sometimes you see the zoo if someone misses the bonk, but we haven't seen that in a while. I don't think I've seen it at all during the spoiler log race.
It'd be sick to see it in the log race, because one of the reasons you might see that room, for folks who don't know what we're talking about with that zoo room, it's the room that's north of the torch puzzle room on the right side of Ganon's tower. But, no one ever walks in that door. But you might, if you were needing to skip the fire rod logical requirement to do that torch puzzle, you can do it with a lamp, but it requires a bomb jump and to intentionally fall in a pit and be returned to that north door. So you actually have to go into that zoo room in order to set up the fire rodless torch puzzle. But I haven't seen that in the spoiler race yet. That'd be pretty sick.
Alright, so our first look at Misery Mire here from saltyphry.
All right, there's a race happening.
Oh, and kills the Draco. So we're not going to see a frozen bird get tossed or smashed today. That's sad. Oh well. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, without the boots, it's really difficult to set it up so that you're freezing the bird instead of dealing with him. It's just much simpler to deal with him.
Yeah. And this is where the hookshot's required because we don't have the boots to bonk across. And saltyphry prioritized this dungeon above all the other ones he could do. Even going back and finishing Pod. Hellsworking down and drops the gold sword. So there's all 4 of our swords found. And there's the mirror. So that glove in Spiral Cave was extremely hard locked by Dark World access. Because the other pieces, both of them were in Dark World.
Yeah, so it makes sense. I mean, we would expect that the Aga was hard required if both players did it in a spoiler race, but yeah, that's our confirmation for the reason why it was required anyway. So could be everything that we need, as long as we don't need those boots. Hey.
So now we are definitively in yeah, we're in go mode for saltyphry.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting play. Like, Shady decided to go back and clean up Helma to get the mirror so that he could do Mire and... Oh my god, that one heart! Shadyforce! Oh, he wanted those sword beams so bad for Wizrobe 2. Mire 2.
I mean, you can hookshot the slimes. I've done it before, but I don't know if they'll drop hearts. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Item tables.
It was just so convenient. Like, I have to kill this bird anyway, and then it drops a heart you can't pick up. Sad day. Oh no, Salty trying to go for that extra heart there, but there were too many sprites on screen, so it didn't drop. But yeah, I was saying that Shady, went back to clean up Helma to get that mirror so that he could do Mire Desert together, while Salty decides, you know what, I'm going to get those boots first. So I think it's one of those 6 of one, half dozen of the other situations, because Saltyfry is going to get an advantage from having slightly earlier boots. Shadyforce is going to get an advantage from not having to flute back to 6 a second time to go to Desert.
The counterpoint here I'll make is Shadyforce broke the Pod Eastern play up into 2 parts, whereas Saltyfry can now in turn do both of them simultaneously, as well as Desert and Mire.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wait, Mire was on Helma, right?
Mire was right there.
Mire was in Mire. Oh, okay. Okay. See, I was getting confused. Never mind.
The 4th sword was on Helma.
Okay.
Which
does
give Shady a that gives Shady a combat advantage at the very least for the rest of the dungeons.
Yeah, and Salty has 2 hearts, no bottles, and only 18 arrows. He does have a lot of magic, well now full magic, and a cape, however, but only Master Sword. This is going to be a lot longer of a fight for Salty than for Shady.
Yeah, that's where I think the major time difference is going to be is the time it takes to defeat these bosses. Vitreous is, of course, the biggest one of them all. Lots of help on this guy.
Salty doing Magic Cape Cheapskate, which is where you slash your sword a bunch, and that prevents the magic from draining. So he should be able to do this fight pretty safely, albeit slowly. Only 2 lightning cycles. That's actually much faster than I thought it would be. So that's not super significant. Shady could theoretically do, well, not theoretically, he could do a 0 cycle Vitreous and save both those cycles, but that's not a ton of time.
Cycling around like this to get the big key. So taking a little bit of a different route through Mystery Mire than Saltyfry did. Because I think Saltyfry went for the shortcut. This is going to take a little longer. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, we both just started talking at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the situation here. Saltyfry having 3 crystals, Shadyforce is, I don't know, it's hard to tell, but I think Salty might be slightly ahead because he did skip his sword and also skipped out on everything inside of Paradox Cave.
Well, the other major time sink is, of course, like we said, the bosses. Saltyfry, if he doesn't just decide to fight Pod immediately after this, is going to have a harder time. But generally, all the bosses that these two have left to fight, the majority of this time save is going to be coming up here on Shadyforce's end. With the boss execution. Does not get the spooky action glitch though, just so has to go around.
I'm now questioning everything. Like, was Saltyfry's decision to go to Thieves Town early actually an adaptation of his strategy, wherein or it could have been his original plan, to skip that sword in Escape, but still have a strategy to quickly defeat Vitreous, so that he can get the Helma sword as his 3rd sword? Because it is a very common thing in spoiler races to try to only get 3 swords and not go too far of your way for a sword which would stack up to you getting 4 swords throughout the course of a run. And Saltyfry may have designed a route that allowed him to do that by picking up that cape in Thieves Town.
Yeah, that is an interesting notion here. Also, oh jeez, and the fact that Shady still has to do Thieves Town, which Thieves Town's also going to be a pretty quick dungeon.
Yeah, especially with the advantage of that boots.
Alright. Crystal Catch from Mire.
Yeah, so almost synced crystal catch. Of course, desert is a very fast crystal, so Shady's going to be able to catch up quickly, but Salty probably on to Pod and Eastern next, so I think Salty actually has the advantage here, especially because he's just about to get his third sword.
Yeah, if there's any advantage that Shadyforce has, it is the boss killing the bosses faster and more efficiently. But that can only do so much. The other thing here is saltyphry has less health and less defense than Shadyforce does. So saltyphry, if he wants to keep his lead, has to keep that lack of safeties, for lack of a better way to describe it, and hope it maintains him to the end and he doesn't die. Because a death right now would set him back fairly significantly, costing him a couple of minutes at the most. And that can be enough to let Shadyforce get ahead. Alright, so now we see Shadyforce going to the Desert Palace here. Here's saltyphry heading over to Helmsor King. It's 3 crystals to 4 right now. Shadyforce wisely bonking there to take the hearts gone, so that he can not rely on sword beams. Beautiful one cycle.
Yeah, he does get the one cycle, but yeah, that's a good eyeballs there, Wolflink, because yeah, that's totally what that was about. In case he missed the one cycle, he wouldn't have to deal with sword beams canceling out his gold sword damage.
He's right back here in case he wants to use the sword beams again. So it all works out in the end.
Nice. That was a textbook all hammer fight or all hammer turtle room from saltyphry there. That was really perfect.
Alright, so this is where the route is going to... Oh, it's not exactly going to meet up either. Because Shadyforce still has to go to Thieves Town.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a difference here, but considering Salty is now on Helma and Shady has to do all of the Thieves Town dungeon, in order to create true parity here, I think that Salty has a pretty significant lead right now. Like 2 minutes or so.
Helmsor's trying to get away from him. Whew, okay, good fight. Helmsor is one of those fights that can be a little bit scary when you're at low health. Because he can just, for lack of a better way of describing it, checkmate you, and you just die.
Yeah. 6 hearts is lower even than the NMG fight, but blue mail does help.
Mire to switch over to the light world, and now we have both runners in the same dungeon.